me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're not living the life you were supposed to live? Like, people used to call you smart, maybe even gifted, and you believed them. You were the one who figured things out quickly, the one who always had the answer. But now, when life feels messy, when things don't come easy, you start to wonder, what happened to me? What if I told you? Nothing's wrong with you. What if I told you? The problem isn't that you've lost your potential. The real problem is the identity you were given. This invisible label, the smart one, sounds like a compliment. But over time, it becomes a cage. It makes you afraid to fail, afraid to start, afraid to just be human. But you can change that. This episode isn't just about English. It's about freeing yourself from a version of you that's no longer helping you grow. So, if you're here with me and you're ready to understand yourself more deeply, stay close. Let's break the pattern. Why do many intelligent kids struggle later in life? It seems strange at first. As children, smart kids are praised. They get good grades, impress teachers, and often learn things quickly. But then, something changes. In adulthood, many of these same people struggle with motivation, connection, or confidence. Why does this happen? One big reason is that their identity becomes tied to always being right, or always being the best. If they don't feel instantly good at something, they avoid it. If a challenge seems hard, they fear it will prove they're not smart after all. This creates a pattern, one where growth feels dangerous and staying safe becomes the goal. But life, real life, isn't about being perfect. It's about learning, trying, failing, and trying again. Without that experience, even very intelligent people can feel lost when real-world challenges appear. That's where the struggle begins, and where the shift must happen. What is a fixed identity, and how does it form? A fixed identity is a belief that who you are is unchangeable. For many smart kids, this starts early. They hear things like, "You're so clever," "You're a genius," or "You're the top of the class." While these words sound positive, they send a message. Your value comes from being smart, not from trying hard, not from being kind, just from always being correct. Over time, this creates pressure. What happens if they don't understand something? Or if they fail? Suddenly, they feel like they've lost their identity. To protect it, they avoid difficult tasks or anything that might make them look less smart. This is how the fixed identity grows, and it keeps growing until the person no longer tries new things, because they're afraid of breaking the image they were praised for. But we'll soon talk about how to break this pattern and build a healthier one. How does fear of failure affect motivation? When someone has a fixed identity based on being smart, failure becomes dangerous. It doesn't just mean, I got something wrong. It feels like, I am wrong. So instead of taking action, they freeze. Instead of learning, they avoid. Motivation becomes low, not because they're lazy, but because the fear is so strong. They might start many things, but quit as soon as they feel unsure, or they avoid starting at all. And because they know they're intelligent, they feel even worse. If I'm so smart, they ask, why can't I do this? The truth is, intelligence isn't the problem. It's the mindset around it. Real motivation doesn't come from fear or pressure. It comes from curiosity, purpose, and the freedom to grow without fear of failure. And that's what we'll begin rebuilding today. Why does this mindset lead to loneliness? One thing that's often forgotten is this. Emotional connection also requires vulnerability. When you're trying to protect your image all the time, you stop being real with people. You avoid situations where you might seem confused or emotional. You might even push people away, afraid they'll see your weaknesses. Over time, this creates distance. Even if you're surrounded by others, you feel lonely because you're not truly connecting. Real relationships need honesty, mistakes, and shared struggles. But if your identity is built on always being the strong one or the smart one, letting people see your softer side can feel terrifying. That's why emotional growth is just as important as intellectual growth. Because being brilliant isn't enough. If you can't share your life, your fears, and your dreams with someone else. Is perfectionism part of the problem? Absolutely. Many intelligent people develop perfectionist habits without realizing it. They believe they always have to perform at the highest level, or not at all. If they can't do something perfectly the first time, they feel it's not worth doing. This mindset kills creativity, stops progress, and increases anxiety. They might spend hours rewriting a single email or avoid projects that aren't 100% clear. Perfectionism makes them afraid to start, afraid to finish, and afraid to rest. The truth is, nothing great is ever perfect. Growth is messy. Language learning is messy. Relationships are messy. Life is not a test. It's a process. And when you let go of perfection, you create space for progress. That's where real confidence starts. Not from flawless success, but from showing up again and again. What does a growth mindset actually mean? A growth mindset is the belief that your abilities can improve with effort, time, and learning. It's not about being the best. It's about getting better. When you adopt a growth mindset, mistakes are no longer threats. They're part of the process. Challenges become chances to grow, not signs that you're failing. Feedback becomes helpful, not personal. You stop asking, "Am I good enough?" and start asking, "What can I learn here?" This shift opens doors. It gives you energy, hope, and motivation, not just in English, but in everything you do. It's how children learn naturally, and how adults can rediscover that same joy and progress. And the best part? Anyone can build a growth mindset. It's not something you're born with. It's something you choose again and again. Why is identity so hard to change? Changing your identity is difficult because it feels personal. It's not just about habits, it's about how you see yourself. For years, maybe even decades, you've believed you were the smart one, the quiet one, the one who's supposed to have it all figured out. So when you try something new and struggle, your brain panics. It says, "Wait, this isn't me." That discomfort can make you quit too soon. But here's the truth. Identities are not fixed. They're stories, and you can rewrite your story. The key is to separate what you do from who you are. You're not just your mind. You're also your effort, your courage, your curiosity. You can be intelligent and emotional. You can be strong and still learning. It starts by noticing the voice in your head and gently choosing a new one. How does this affect your English learning? You might not notice it at first, but this mindset deeply affects your language learning. If you believe you should already be good, then every small mistake feels like a failure. If someone corrects your grammar, you take it personally. You stop practicing out loud. You avoid hard exercises. Or maybe you only do the parts you're good at: vocabulary, reading, theory. and skip the things that make you uncomfortable, like speaking or listening in real life. But English isn't just about knowledge, it's about flexibility. You have to get things wrong, again and again, before you get them right. That's normal, that's healthy. And if you can accept that part of the process, you'll grow faster and feel freer. The most fluent people aren't the ones who memorize the most. They're the ones who are not afraid to look silly while they grow. What is the cost of always protecting your image? Protecting your image might feel safe, but it comes with a cost. You say no to opportunities because you're scared of looking unprepared. You hold back in conversations because you don't want to make a mistake. You don't ask questions because you don't want to seem confused. Slowly, this fear builds a wall around you. On the outside, people may see someone put together, but on the inside, you feel stuck, anxious, and disconnected. The cost of protecting your image is real connection, real learning, and real progress. You miss the messy parts of life, the joyful human parts, because you're always trying to look perfect. So ask yourself, what's more important? Looking smart or becoming your fullest self? There's a big difference. And only one path leads to freedom. How can you start letting go of that old identity? Letting go doesn't mean rejecting your intelligence. It means expanding your identity to include more. You can say, yes, I'm smart, and I'm learning to be brave. I'm learning to be curious. I'm learning to take emotional risks. One way to do this is by changing your language. Instead of saying, I'm bad at this, say, I'm new to this. Instead of, I don't know how, say, I'm figuring it out. These small changes help your brain see learning as a process, not a performance. And every time you try something difficult without giving up, you build a new identity, one that includes effort, resilience, and growth. That version of you is much stronger and much freer than the one who always needs to look smart. Why is emotional growth just as important as mental growth? We often focus on mental strength, knowledge, logic, skills, but emotional growth is just as important. It's what allows you to handle disappointment, manage stress, connect deeply with others, and move forward after failure. Without emotional growth, intelligence can become a prison. You overthink, but don't act. You understand everything, but still feel empty. Emotional strength teaches you to feel things, not run from them, to sit with discomfort, to speak honestly, to ask for help, to say, I don't know, and still feel worthy. And just like learning English, emotional growth happens step by step, through small choices, through reflection, through practice. When you develop both, your mind and your heart, you become truly powerful. What beliefs are holding you back? Take a moment to reflect. What are the hidden beliefs you carry about yourself? Maybe you believe you always need to be the best. Maybe you think people will only respect you if you never show weakness. Maybe you've decided that failure means you're not enough. These beliefs aren't facts. They're old rules, rules that may have helped you survive once. But now they keep you small. The first step to changing them is simply noticing them. Ask yourself, is this belief helping me grow or keeping me stuck? If it's not helping, you can begin to let it go. Replace it with a new one. Something like, I'm allowed to learn slowly. Or, I'm worthy even when I'm not perfect. These new beliefs take time to feel real, but they are worth practicing every single day. How can you rebuild your motivation? If you've been stuck in perfectionism or fear, your motivation probably feels low. So how do you rebuild it? First, start small. Don't wait to feel confident. Just take one simple action, even if it feels awkward. Second, focus on progress, not performance. Celebrate effort. Track your consistency. Notice how you feel after you take action, not before. Third, connect your learning to something deeper. Why are you learning English? What do you want it to give you? More freedom? Better relationships? A sense of pride? When your goal is meaningful, motivation becomes stronger. And finally, remove shame from the process. You don't need to be fast. You just need to keep going. One step, one day, one choice at a time. What role does comparison play in this struggle? Comparison can be poison. Especially for people who were praised as kids, it's easy to look around and think, I should be further ahead. You see someone speaking fluent English and feel embarrassed about your mistakes. You see people your age succeeding in careers or relationships and feel behind. But comparison hides the truth. You don't see the effort, the pain, the process behind someone else's growth. And even if you did, their journey isn't yours. You have your own timing, your own strengths, your own lessons. Every time you compare yourself unfairly, you rob yourself of peace. Instead of comparison, try connection, learn from others, get inspired. But don't forget, your path matters, even if it looks different. How do you build self-worth that isn't based on achievement? Self-worth that's based only on achievement is fragile. The moment you fail, it crashes. That's why it's so important to build self-worth on something deeper. Start by seeing your value as a person, not just as a performer. Are you kind? Do you try? Are you growing? Do you show up again after falling? These are signs of real worth, not just your test scores, salary, or grammar. Practice talking to yourself the way you would talk to a good friend, with respect, with patience, with encouragement. The more you do this, the more your confidence becomes steady. Even when life gets hard, even when things don't go perfectly. What does real confidence look like? Real confidence isn't loud. It's quiet. It's the calm feeling of knowing you're allowed to try, to fail, to learn. It's not about knowing all the answers. It's about trusting that you can figure things out. Confidence grows when you face discomfort. And stay present when you try something new. And don't quit when you stop hiding behind your image and just show up. For many former smart kids, this kind of confidence is new, but once you taste it, you'll never want to go back because it's not based on praise, it's based on action, on choice, on courage. How can you practice showing up, even when it's hard? Showing up is a skill, and like any skill, it can be practiced. Start small. Speak English out loud even if no one's around. Ask a question in class or at work, even if your voice shakes. Try something you've been avoiding, and let it be imperfect. The goal is not be great. The goal is to show up. Every time you do, you send a message to your brain. This is safe. I can handle this. Over time, that message becomes belief. That belief becomes strength, and that strength changes everything, not just in English, but in life. What are you really afraid of? When we look closely, most of this struggle comes down to fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of not being enough, but fear only has power when it's hidden, when you name it, out loud on paper or in your thoughts. It shrinks. You can ask yourself, what am I really afraid of here? And then, what's one small thing I can do anyway? You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be brave for one moment, and then another, and then another. That's how courage works. It grows with every action. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to change. Let's end with this. You are not stuck. You are not broken. And you are not alone. If you were labeled smart as a child and now feel tired, afraid, or disconnected, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility now. You can choose to release the old identity that keeps you small. You can choose to build a new story, one where growth matters more than perfection, where connection matters more than image, where effort matters more than ease. This is your life. You get to decide what kind of person you become, not just once, but every day. So take a breath. Be kind to yourself. Keep showing up, because the world needs people like you, not just smart people, but growing people. And that begins today.